Welcome to the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Having a gang of mentors in this industry has been a blessing that we wanted to share with you. Our core group has been traveling together and comparing notes about life and business for years. Tune in as we delve into topics with others in the industry that you are sure to love and make you laugh.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. You're stuck with me today, Brandon Mullen, and today I have the fantastic, the only, the one, Tiffany Hall, CEO of Life, CEO of Everything Aesthetics, but really the CEO of Aesthetic Record. She has some amazing conferences coming up. She is a powerhouse in the industry. If you don't know her, shame on you. She's got a podcast. There is an exciting new intimate event coming up in May next month that we're going to talk about. Tiffany, say hello and happy birthday. I can't believe I got you on your birthday.
It's a great way to start the day. But yes, thank you for having me on. And I've watched this group form, I've watched APMG form and all the things that you're doing. And really, Brandon, selflessly investing in the industry. No one asked you to do any of this. You're just doing it because you're a good human. And I think we need it so desperately. We have so much out there for injectors. And we don't spend time on the business and talking about how truly hard it is, as you and I both know, to run a business. So I applaud what you're doing, and I'm grateful that you're doing it, and I'm happy to be here today.
Well, thank you. And I mean, I know you guys can't see Tiffany, but you know, it's a milestone birthday. She's turning 30. It's it's amazing. I knew we were Aries twinsies. I'm next week. She's today. So, and actually, you share your birthday with my stepdaughter, and she's 17 today. So, happy birthday, Gabby.
Well, and I also share it with Heather Ripien and Steve Weiner. We are birthday triplets, just FYI.
Okay. All right. So a lot of Aries in the industry. Yeah. That's awesome. But I wanted to sit down with you. I know we've been trying to do this forever. And I jokingly said that I was flying to Dallas when I was there for a leisure trip because we've had to postpone this a couple times. But you know that I love you. As soon as I saw you on stage, I didn't know that we were like astrological besties, but I just knew that the way that you present, the knowledge that you have is amazing. Your direction, your drive is just something that this industry needs and desperately, because there's so many avenues for miseducation, we'll say, in this industry. And I think that you are at the forefront of leading people in the right direction. And I think one of those events that you're culminating now is the Xccelerator, which is probably new to most of the people listening to this podcast. So do you want to take a second to talk about Xccelerator?
Yeah, I would love to, because it's something that was really a passion of mine. You know, we have Aesthetic Next, which is a huge meeting. There's so many people there. There's a lot going on. And as you know, as a practice manager, you need to have a team of advisors around you. You need to have your attorney, your accountant, your social media person. Like, you just need people to tell you what, in the beginning at least, what to do and what not to do, like to kind of help you with the landmines and the roadblocks that you're going to face. And as I think about this, you know, even for me at Aesthetic Record, to assemble that group in one room is virtually impossible. Like, that would never happen for you to get all the people that you need on your A team in the same room. So I wanted to bring that to our industry to say, you can come to this one event, you can spend time with, 10 different advisors across all the big key buckets of your practice, get one-on-one time to give them, a chance to really prove their worth to you, to be able to contract them later on as one of your advisors, but also in that moment to say, I have specific questions that I need answers to, and I don't want to go pay an attorney for an hour of time if I can come here and ask you. So it's really helping us to sort of jump the shark and say, instead of going to all these different people and doing individual consults, let's get it all done in one meeting. But also, the part I love the most is we're going to have working sessions all day long every day. So for instance, we're going to start the meeting with building out mission, vision, and values. How do you lead your staff? What is important to your practice? Who are you at your core? Why are you in business? And they'll leave the session with that built out. The same thing will be for their social media, for their performance review plans, for their event and promotion planning. So they'll leave every session with not only the ideas of how to do it best, but also a physical, culmination of all that content into like a plan, a blueprint, or a strategy. And so as you think about big meetings, you learn a lot. Like, you and I love to go to meetings. We speak in meetings all the time. And my brain walks away just full of knowledge and knowledge bombs. But I come back and I think, what am I going to do with all of it? Like, what do I do to take all that information and funnel it into a physical plan, like a go-do? And it's just hard to do. And so we wanted to have them walk away with that plan already done and say, at the end of it, you're going to have, 15 strategies for all the parts that matter to you. Plus, you're going to also have these advisors who've told you what you can and can't do legally, for instance, or what you should and shouldn't do because of marketing and Google ads and things like that. So the goal is that you just walk away with so much information and a true roadmap, and you're not just kind of out here in the ocean floundering around waiting for someone to throw you a life raft. We want to be the life raft. So, and it kicks off on May 17th to the 19th here in Dallas, Las Colinas. And, we're looking at practices who are 6 months to 3 years in, really in that part where you're growing, you know what you want to become, but you're just not quite there yet to go to the next level. So I think it's going to be a great group. The advisory board that we're working with is just phenomenal. You're included in that. You're doing our keynote kickoff. We have a great group of leaders, and I think the practices are going to just benefit so immensely from this. And I can't wait to see what this group does, like in 6 months or a year, to look back and say, gosh, this was like a pivotal point in their transition from a growing practice to now, a powerhouse. So looking forward to it, and I hope that if you're listening and you have not heard about it yet, you definitely go check it out and come join us. We're gonna have a blast.
Absolutely. Check out the Aesthetic Record Instagram page. That link tree's in there for all the things, for Aesthetic Next, for Xccelerator. I just love whenever you and I talked about this a couple months ago when I did just kind of insert myself into your office before I ran to the airport, that it's like taking all of those small pieces and filling a big gap. Like you said, like you can go to a conference, you can get bits and pieces, you can listen to lectures, but I think just kind of taking everyone and almost making it like a speed dating round. I think that's how you refer to it. Speed dating for like someone new in aesthetics. And taking someone, I have a lot of people in mind that would benefit from this, but that, solo provider that's just starting out, they had a great vision for the brand. They started, they got a couple accounts. They might or might not have a ton of patient books from wherever they came from, or maybe they're just starting out and having problems with that and thinking that, they went with one person to do marketing. Maybe it wasn't the best fit. Maybe they got some legal advice, but it's not like the best, or it's not something that's consistent, that's followed up on. I think this is a great opportunity for someone that may be in about a year and is kind of like, I thought I knew what I was doing, but now I really don't know what the hell I'm doing. Or they just got too busy too quick and they don't have time to finesse all of the things that they maybe should have. Like, I probably should have made some SOPs, or maybe I need to expand now and I don't know what to do. Should I bring on a laser? It's a really big cost. Like, thinking of all of those things after the fact is very daunting, because when you get busy, or at least it's been my experience, when I see providers get really busy, a lot of the other stuff just falls to the wayside. All the marketing, the website gets stale. The hustle kind of, it's put into the business and you don't have time to work on your business. So I think taking this time out for a very intense 2-day course is an amazing concept.
Well, I think one of the things we've done so great in aesthetics, Brandon, for years is to make these injector pods or these injector groups where, if we're in the same kind of place in our career, we learn together, we grow together, we're going to conferences together, like we're each other's teammate. There is nothing like that until APMG started for practice managers. If you were a practice manager, you were on your own, on an island with no help. There was no one in your cohort. And so what we really want to do, my biggest goal for all of this is to say, you now have to your left and to your right, as you look around the room, 15 other practices who are in your same boat, who are with you along the way. And when they have a roadblock, they'll share it with you. When you have a success, you'll share it with them, so that we can, again, learn from each other, because I think we have just not been able to do the scale of community and practice management that we've done in the injector world. And it's equally as important, right? Because if I'm a great injector but a practice is not working or not profitable or doesn't produce revenue, it doesn't matter how good my skill set is. I have to have a business that is actually functional. And I think we just have not invested enough quite yet, but I think now we're seeing it. I mean, you're leading the charge for that. People are really focusing in conferences now on the business aspect. And as you mentioned, so many solo providers are also the business owner. And I think part of this meeting and anything that you go to as a conference, attendee, is to look at it and think, what can I physically and emotionally handle as a practice manager and as an injector, and what am I willing to give away? And if I can give it away to someone, how do I find a person to give it away to and be okay with it's not going to be the way that I would do it, but allowing yourself to sort of opt in or opt out of things that aren't critical to the mission, but need to still be done. And I think we don't talk about that enough, that it's okay to say, my social media is hard, I don't want to do it, I hired a person to do it for me. Or I'm really bad at bookkeeping and I'm horrible at receipts, so I have a bookkeeper who does all that for me. Like, it's okay to admit vulnerability and say, I got to hire a person to help me. But I think we've not yet said to people it's okay to be vulnerable. And also, by the way, here's a great list of people you can call and hire to do that thing for you. And so we just want to make it a great resource and a great place to build your practice, but also learn from each other and to share your mistakes and failures so that we don't all make them again. We learn from yours and don't do it again. So, but I'm hoping that just be on Xccelerator as well. We'll do it twice a year. the first one each year in May will be, if you're, to your point, 1 year in, 2 years in, it's kind of that growth mindset. And then in November every year, we'll do the sell and scale. So you'll be looking at, another location, or you want to exit your practice, and really thinking more along the lines of capital investment, the M&A part of the business, or even just getting capital to grow. So very different setup. So I think if you're thinking to yourself, I hear all these M&A lectures, I hear these things about selling. We're not there yet. This one's strictly about growing the practice and building your profitability. So I think it's a really good targeted approach for those guys who, to your point, are kind of getting their feet wet and getting started.
Absolutely. No, I love how we take gaps in the industry and try to solve them. Like you said, like that's what I'm trying to do with APMG. It all kind of started a little over a year ago whenever there was a bunch of practice managers, and we're all kind of like, we're at the conference and we're chatting after, and people would come up to me after a talk, and it's so great. But then it kind of just like got cut off there. And it's like, well, now what? Now I have to go back home and do the same thing. So trying to create a virtual mastermind group was really the goal behind it. And it's growing into something, and I'm really excited to see where it goes this year. And I think that things like Xccelerator are going to help kind of socialize the need for something like this, but it's also something that is beneficial for a practice owner that is solo, but someone that may need a Brandon. And that's the problem that I am trying to solve now, as to how to find Brandons across the country. So I'm working on that in a deep subconscious of my brain, but it's coming to fruition.
Well, I have a thought on that, Brandon. I'll share. I actually just talked to a person yesterday. I did a final interview for an office manager, and I am hiring school teachers. She's like my fourth one here at AR. They are great at task management. They're great at chaos, and think about all those little turds in the classroom screaming and yelling. If you're looking for, people ask me every single day of my life, literally every day, what should I put in my resume, or in my job description to recruit the right talent? What do I put in my list of things I need for Indeed to pick it up and say, we should put this in front of Brandon, in front of whoever looks for it. I got to tell you, if you're looking for people who can do a lot of crazy things all at once, and who can keep their wits about them, and who can be organized, but also creative and authoritative, but also empathetic, go find a school teacher. They are like the holy grail of wonderfulness. And we have so many of them here, and they just, whether it's training other employees, coaching even our customers of how to do things in AR, they just do a great job. So there's your little nugget. Go find some school teachers.
Okay. I will go poach every elementary teacher. And sorry for the education system. They want to come over to the aesthetics industry and get something a little bit different. But no, you're right. It's finding all of the attributes that make a good practice manager, and trying to market to, I think, outside of the industry, where they would exhibit those attributes and those qualities. Because I think that they're those kind of people, like customer service oriented, like you said, troubleshooting, task management, project managers, they're excellent in an aesthetic space. And if they don't have the interest, and I think that one of the big things that, at least from my experience in the past couple of years, is finding that trust, that someone's not just there to get knowledge and open up their own med spa. I mean, that's not the goal for everybody in this industry. It's been popular lately, but that's not everyone's end game. But I think finding that level of trust and comfortability with somebody, but allowing them to get ingrained enough in your business to trust them to do the things that you need them to do is definitely difficult.
Yes. And I think, it's a trust issue, but also just a skill set. Do they have what it takes to do it? I think about here, we have so many things going on every day. I mean, you're doing a million things, for either for Ayana or for Ashley. It's a matter of, I need to be able to say to a person, I have to trust you implicitly, but also know that you can deliver. And I think that's hard as a business owner or as a leader in a business, to be able to give away that freedom, knowing that, or that responsibility, knowing that they have to deliver for the practice to stay afloat. If they don't do their job, then it's hard for all of us, because we have to make payroll. We have to have, there's just a lot of responsibility there. And I think a person who can take that on and do a really good job with it, first of all, pay them what they're worth. I think that's always an issue in aesthetics, is pay them what they're worth, because they are your business. I mean, you are as much of the business as the injector if you're the practice manager. And, develop them, give them time to go to conferences and to learn from other people, to give them time to be on an APMG board, and to spend time with you at AmSpa and hear what you have to say. I think it's as important for us to invest and develop our practice managers as it is our injectors, because again, you are equally responsible for the success of the practice. It is a yin and a yang. It's two halves of the same whole. You have to have a great manager to support a great injector, and vice versa.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. So for Xccelerator, I'm hearing that I know it's small and intimate, but you may be waitlisted at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We've got some openings left depending on the size of the practice and kind of what they have going on as far as what they need. But we're nearing the end of our registration period. So if you want to get in, I would recommend that you go ASAP and get in. Because we're going to offer some additional things as well. And I didn't even mention, Brandon, there's also like a whole pre and post virtual community that you'll be part of. So you have additional learning content, much like what you do with your webinars, additional things after the fact with vendors, with additional parts about finance and taxes. And, it comes tax season, here's some more tax modules. So we'll try to keep it going all year long and have people in that community who are answering questions, being part of it. So we want you to, if you want to be there, we want you to be there, but also you got to get in quick because I can only take so many because we're doing, again, the one-on-ones. I only have so many people and so much time. So if you want in, I would say go run, go fast, go right now.
Absolutely. It's 6 weeks away, and I hope that doesn't leave a knot in your stomach when I look at my calendar on my wall there.
Well, that and Aesthetic Next is coming up soon too. That one gives me way more nausea and way more stress because it's just massive. But it's all the things all the time. But I think at the end of the day, what you and I both really are passionate about is helping the industry to be better. And, as I get sick at night thinking about these dates approaching, I remember that it's for the good of all. And we might be the martyr, but at the end of the day, hopefully we're enriching the community in a way that, if we weren't doing this, it wouldn't happen. So I try to keep that close to my heart, that when it sucks and it's really busy and really terrible, we are doing good things. At least I hope so.
Absolutely. So, well, pivoting on that fact, so, Aesthetic Next will be here before you know it. September will be flying by shortly right after Xccelerator. So for those that, aren't business owners, but maybe clinical estheticians, other practice managers like me, I know that Aesthetic Next was actually my very first conference when I got into this space and started working for Ashley in 2021. And I found it immensely helpful to kind of start to formulate my own, job role and feel comfortable and connected in a community. So what's exciting and new for this year for Aesthetic Next?
It's interesting this year. We have a lot of new faculty, well, new to us, not new as faculty, but new to us. And so a lot of different ideas and more dynamic ideas. I think in the practice management part specifically, to mention that, we have a lot of really outside forces who've come into aesthetics. To your point, they've come from outside industries and now they're here, and their ideas are just different. They're more around corporate America ideas, around SOPs and structure and things. So we're going to talk a lot about that. We have a lot more panels this year. We're doing a whole panel on performance management and compensation. We've got panels on social media, on selling, talking a lot more this year about just the legal parts of the business and just making sure that how compliance has to kind of feed into, making money is great, but you got to stay buttoned up. And if a person comes in and says, I want to see the books, like, what are you going to show them?
Right.
So I think on the PM side, much more novel this year around specific parts that you want to grow and change, and not so much just overall practice management. I think last year it was very much like, hey, you're a practice manager, come here and learn all the things. This year it's like very guided. So you're going to get, all these different pieces and parts that you need to go back and fix things in your business. I think on the injector side too, which I think is also very interesting, is every talk that I received in the abstract, they mentioned the business aspect of it. Like, why would you sell this to a patient? How would you sell it to a patient? Why does it matter in the consultation? Is it part of the treatment plan? So I think even the injectors are really starting to think more business-wise. And while we are medical, and I'm so committed to the fact that this is a medical industry, a medical specialty, it is still a business. So you have to think about when you do things, what is the business implication of that? And I think the injectors now are really focusing on not just safety and efficacy of products, but also, is it profitable for the practice? Like you mentioned, devices. If I buy that device, it's like having a head count. One of our employees here, or our strat manager, said this yesterday. She's like, it's a head count. And if it sits in the corner of your office every day doing nothing, would you fire that person? Probably. You wouldn't need them, right? So if you're going to buy a device and let it sit in the corner every day and do nothing, it's the same as having a person who is not performing in your practice. If you don't have things for it to do, don't buy it, right? If it's not the right market, the right patient type, the right patient demographic, you shouldn't buy the device. And so I think we're looking at now some novel concepts, new technologies, but also the business part of what we do here and why you make the choices that you make. So I'm very excited about that. We have a lot of things this year on hormones, sexual wellness, IVs, weight loss is everywhere, as you well know. A lot of things on weight loss and how to really do it effectively in practice. At AR, I look at numbers every single day. We're noticing on the invoice this year for 2024 and 2023 as well, the number's not really changing. Like, they're still spending the same amount of money per transaction, but it's a much different bag of goods. It's a lot of weight loss, obviously a lot of weight loss this year, a lot of regenerative kind of stuff, not so much HA, not so much toxin. So I think the practice dynamic is going to have to change to accommodate for that. And this year we're really focusing on that, of giving you alternatives for care that aren't just filler and toxin, but that really give you a full practice platform that you can do a lot of different things. So I think it'll be interesting for those who've come from prior years to see new content, but also the esthetician track is mind-blowing. Every year I go in there and I just sit and watch. Those estheticians are powerhouses. They are geniuses. We have Savannah Boda doing a workshop this year. We have Ashley Curtis doing Golden Experience, like a lot of things that are really in the weeds for the estheticians, but more like the injector part would be where it's like really focused clinical, but also just experience consultations, things like that. But a lot around the business in that part as well. So if you're having a skincare retail dilemma in your practice, like how to sell it, how to promote it, I would encourage you to go sit in the retail or in the esthetician track, because we're going to spend a lot of time discussing selling skincare. So it'll be a great time for all. We have a big event with the Nexties. This year we have a little bit of a different format. We have an outdoor Hamptons pool party for our going away event. So it's going to be outside, wear all white, do the whole Hamptons vibe.
Love that.
We're going to open it up this year with a big carnival. On Thursday night, we're going to have, like monkeys and ringmasters and hula hoop girls and silks. And every booth will have some sort of a neat, novel thing going on that you can, either win prizes or get some cool discounts. So we're just trying to make it really action-packed and give you, no matter what your taste buds happen to prefer, you'll have whatever you could possibly want there, so you can pick and choose your tracks. And it'll be, again, 4 action-packed days of a lot of content with the whole virtual part of it afterwards. So a lot is there, so do not miss it. You have to come. It's going to be a blast.
Yes, mark your calendars. And I love it. You said so many good things. I mean, injecting more of a business brain into the clinical person is of utmost importance. I think as, competition becomes more evident as we go on. Even in the moment, like trying to think like, to be more cost effective, should I use this filler? Obviously the patient aesthetic goal has to be priority, but thinking in the moment as far as packaging and pricing, like which should I use? What's going to get the best outcome but still be cost effective? Should I use a different tox for a different treatment? Like that's something that you kind of need to think of on the fly. And if you're not the business owner, you tend not to care. And everyone needs to have that skill set. I think that's an incredible mind shift for a lot of people. And the other thing that you had mentioned about the kind of the shift away from, just coming in for toxin filler. I think a lot of people, they Google enough to be dangerous, but, a lot of people want more natural results. They're getting into PRF. They're not afraid of it anymore. They like biostimulators. They're not afraid of the cost or the expectation. And circling back to what you said earlier too, it really does come back to that consult and how you're talking about it, how you're educating about it. Because when you educate properly, you're selling without selling. And it's a no-brainer for the patient whenever you have that honest conversation, you explain the options, and you create a treatment plan around it. So I'm glad that this is coming to the forefront of your mind as you start to, get speakers and content for Aesthetic Next. That's awesome.
Well, and a lot of things I don't really know about. I'm not in a practice every day. So, for instance, like biogel, I don't inject. I mean, I know about it from like an outside looking in. I don't know how to inject it. I don't know when you would choose it over something different. So, for me, I also love to learn as I read, because as you know, I read every single deck that comes in. I read all the content. I have to prove all of it for CME. So, I read everything, all the notes, all the slides. And so I love looking at these new things when they come in and seeing, what is happening in the industry, what's new, what's novel, what's going to be a game changer. And I think exosomes we saw last year just completely revolutionized the way that we think about aesthetics, and what's coming with exosomes injectable form, in the next 3 to 5 years. There's just a lot there to unpack. And I think we're on our way, as you mentioned, we're on our way there with things like PRF, with Easy Gel, with just biostimulators. This idea, I think a company is coming out very soon with a product that's both an HA and a PLLA. So a whole new novel idea as well. So I think there's just some cool things happening in the industry that we've not spent enough time on in the previous years because we've been so obsessed with filler and toxin, which is great. But I think we're now turning away from that to being, more holistic, more, to your word, natural, more natural outcomes. And so if you're an injector who learned how to inject 5 years ago, guess what? Your life has changed. I mean, today it's a different day than 5 years ago. We have a whole different set of tools in your toolbox. Everything is changing. And I think to what you mentioned about the practice, if you're the practice owner and you say, we're not going to carry product X, we're going to carry product Y. You have to learn how to use product Y. And they're not probably that different. Like at the end of the day, looking at from a science perspective, they're not that much different, right? So the business owner needing to say, we have a cost of goods sold to manage. We have aspire points or alley points to manage. We have all these things we have to manage for the business that if the options are both safe, efficacious, and good enough, good for our patients, then let's go with the one that's most cost effective for our business. So it's like, I don't want you to not be a medical provider, but also want you to be cautious or cognizant of the fact that I got to make money to stay in business. So I think there's always this delicate balance and dynamic. And I think when you go to places like Aesthetic Next, you get to learn about that other product to say, gosh, I see, Julie Kaplan using it. It seems like it's amazing. I saw her results. I feel better now about using it. So I think when you send your team to that, if you're trying to make a big shift in your business, a big shift in either saying, no more syringes, now do by the area, or no more of this product, now do this product. You need them to go to places like Aesthetic Next or any conference to see what others are doing and to be okay with it. Because as you and I both know, if the person does not buy in to the change, they're not going to change it. If you're trying to change your practice into something different and the people who are doing the work don't believe in the change, good luck, Chuck. It's not going to happen for you. And so you want them to go and hear experts say this is great and help them to, in a sense, influence them to say, okay, I'll go back and I'll do this and I'll feel good about it. So send your people to the whole thing. I mean, we have if you work in a practice, something is for you at Aesthetic Next. We have every role in the practice, every person in the practice has a place to go and learn and develop themselves, and also to meet their tribe and to meet their colleagues.
Absolutely. No, it's a good time. I've been going since 2021 and it's definitely marked off on my calendar for this year. So super excited.
It's a long time. I cannot believe it's year 6. I remember doing it the first time. We built the whole thing in 6 weeks or 8 weeks from nothing. I had an idea, started adjusting. We're like, we'll just do it. Let's see what happens. We got Julie Horn to come over, her first U.S. trip ever. And I remember that first one so fondly, but to watch it grow and change as the industry has grown and changed is really, in many ways, revolutionary, what we've all been able to do. Because, I think about, I started this industry 10 years ago. There was YouTube. There was Anil Rajani and Shino Bay on YouTube talking about injections. And that was your only educational source, unless you were lucky enough to get peer-to-peer funding in your market to have a trainer come out. And there was no trainers. There was nobody. And you look now, you can throw a rock and hit a training. You can have a conference every weekend here and still never go to all of them. Yeah. There's just such an abundance of content. But I think there's also there's a scary part of that to what you said in the very beginning is there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of things that people who maybe aren't quite the expert yet, but might believe that they are out speaking on things they maybe shouldn't be talking about just quite yet. And so I think knowing what you should listen to and what's kind of BS is also a big part of it, that, you have to know who to trust and who to believe and who has good outcomes and who has a good practice. I would never go into any of it blindly, because just because someone is on stage saying it does not make it true. It's like the internet, right? Just because you see it on the internet does not make it true.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that having a we and a network to kind of bounce things off of too is equally important. Did you see that thing they were talking about? What do you think? It's, everyone has an opinion, opinions are like a-holes. So everybody has one, but, there has to be a clinical basis. There has to be some background. There has to be, some experience to really validate. And I think you're right. Some people, I love when people say, I'm the expert, the master, what sensei class did you go to? This, you never graduate from aesthetic college. You're always learning. If you stop learning, you die.
Yeah. I want to see your diploma. Where's your certificate of completion that you are now the master or the expert? Because I've been doing this in corporate America for 20 years and I don't have one yet. So if I can go to the school somewhere and buy that, let me know so I can put it on my wall. But it's just not a thing. I mean, it's changing every day so rapidly and you can't keep up. And even with AI, we use it, as you know, I'm a big nerd. We use AI here for everything all the time. And I was just last night even logging on to Claude for the first time and getting away from ChatGPT. Claude's a much better, more innovative product that does way better AI, writing and content, and just it's better. But everyone's like, oh, ChatGPT. Well, now we have a whole new product, right? We have new things online that will scrape the web and will do all these tasks for you in automation and connect all of your, if you guys have Slack and if you're using Slack to your PM system, to your email, to your Zoom, there's just so much coming at us from technology that if you're a practice manager in today's world, you have this immense amount of resources that we've never had before to do so many things that are automated, well done, high quality, that require very little effort of you, but it's knowing what to use. I think the problem with it, Brandon, is that there's just so much that you could do. What do you do? And I think that's where going to things like this, whether it's any conference, and people on stage saying, I use AI every single day, and here's what I do with it, and here's how you could use it in your practice. You need that, because I hear all the time, we use AI. What does that mean? That can mean a lot of things to different people, and it's a wonderful resource if you know how to harness it. I think that's with any technology, but I think the technology aspect of being a practice manager to find the softwares that you need, how to use them, to get trained on them, to use them effectively. Like that's a whole discipline all of itself, and that's just a whole different thing that you've got to master that beast to run a good practice. And so, yeah, I think there's just a lot going on right now, and I think you've got to be discerning in your taste of where you choose to spend your money.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking some time today, Tiffany. I don't want to take too much time away because I don't know if you have a birthday cake that Macy got you in the break room. I hope that you have something, or if I just said that and she didn't, then I'm sorry, Macy. But
I'm heading to the fourth grade lunch at my little boy's school to have Chick-fil-A. We have a hot date for his lunch today. So, yeah, that's the other thing. You got to fit in being a parent, as you know, being a parent, being a spouse, being a friend, being a colleague. You got to find time for all that too. And I think it's very, very hard because we're all so darn busy, but doing my best.
Work-life balance, that's a whole nother podcast. Well, I'm super excited to see you. I'll see you next week at AmSpa. This will probably come out after that, but I am excited. We'll catch up then. But if anybody needs to get a hold of you, they can look at the AR page on Instagram. It has your link tree with everything in it, all the resources. You can get a hold of the software. We didn't even talk about the platform, but that's one of those, if you don't know by now, you don't know, but you should know. So that's on there, and then everything for the conferences. But again, thank you so much and happy birthday. Go celebrate being 30. You've done so much in your little time on this earth, and we'll chat soon.
Well, thanks for having me on. And to all of you who are listening, yes, check us out. If you have any questions, DM us, shoot me an email or a text, whatever it is that you need to find me. And I look forward to seeing you, Brandon, next week, and hopefully many more of you throughout the rest of the year at different conferences and such. So appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at The Aesthetics Injector Gang.